Hello, beautiful homemakers. We are beginning Chapter 15, Arousing Worship, Adoration, and Love, of Pamphlet 7 of the original 1922 Fascinating Womanhood pamphlets. When you have intensified a man's interest in you by the methods and to the point described in the foregoing chapters, you have made considerable progress. The transition from such an intensified interest to a desire to have you for his own and for all time is not a huge one, and this is in caps. You are being constantly drawn to each other by one of the most powerful influences known, the fascination of secrets shared. You know things about him and his aspirations that are known to no one else. You have been trusted with confidences that have never before been exposed to the criticism and appreciation of another. These matters are the most vital things in his life. He longs to discuss them and to have them appreciated by one who understands. But he dares not do so with anyone but you. Would it be surprising, therefore, if he sought your society at every opportunity? If, with every new idea, with every change in prospects, with every joy and sorrow, every encouragement or discouragement, he felt impelled to come to you, where he is sure to meet with comfort, appreciation, sympathy, and applause. And this reminds me of the movie called Dad with Ted Danson. It is about what a man really wants in life, and that includes a wife such as we just described. A man who wants your society. A man who can share his new ideas, who can share his joys and his sorrows, share his discouragement and be encouraged by you. A man who feels impelled to come to you because you will offer him comfort, appreciation, sympathy, and applause. Now, it's been 35 years since I've seen the movie, but there is one part that I remember so vividly of when Ted Danson's father believes that he is a farmer and he is truly the head of the family. In this part of the movie, he's literally living his dream life. Whereas in real life, he has a wife who has lost the ability to do the things that we just discussed. Now, they were married, so she must have had him in the beginning. But then she became a control freak. The movie is more about him than her. But in his dream life, he's got the career that he wants, the career that he loves. She didn't like it. He's got the children that he wanted, and he's close to them in his dream life. He's sharing with them the important things of life. And he's got a wife who loves him and respects him and seeks him out, who wants to share intimate thoughts with him. It has been years since I've seen this movie. I don't really recall the ending, but it's one of those movies that does stay with you, kind of as what to do and what not to do. And it's definitely, for a woman, what not to do. There's also a Twilight Zone episode, I think I've talked about this before, where the man makes the perfect wife. He conjures her up what she looks like, how she acts, and while the episode doesn't tell the full story, the wife eventually turns into a bit witchy in that she's very condescending and she's very haughty. She wants her own way. She doesn't respect him. And so then he conjures up a new wife. And the new wife is a fascinating woman. Very interesting episode. The episode is called A World of His Own. And I believe it's season 1, episode 36. The majority of movies today, they move too fast into adoration and love. They don't show the steps that are in between. And so I think many women today don't realize the importance of all these other steps that must be made in real life. For a man to marry a woman, he has to be able to trust her. He wants to cherish her, but she has to admire him. It's not just about intimate time. The movies always make that be the most important thing. But in reality, he has to be able to live with her. Is she amiable and easy to get along with? Or is she anxiety-ridden and always complaining and fearful? Actually, the most important thing is respecting your husband. And once you shower him with respect, he will in turn love you in the way that you want to be loved, the way that you need. But if you don't respect him, then your marriage will be a failure. The next subsection is called, Why People Wonder What He Sees in You. When he meets with a rebuff or criticism from others, the most natural thing for him to do is to turn to you to have his self-assurance restored. When the feeling comes to him, as it comes at times to every man, that he is not the man he ought to be, that he has not lived up to the best that is in him, the only person he knows of who can make him feel like a man again is you. When his plans meet with encouragement or his fondest hopes seem about to be realized, where should he turn to but you? The only one who can share his joy and happiness with complete understanding. This next sentence is in capitals. As this feeling intensifies, he finds it more and more difficult to live without you, more and more necessary to have you with him as the lifelong sharer of his joys and sorrows. This is a considerable removal from the apathy with which he began. The difference in his eyes between you and all other women assumes prodigious proportions. People perhaps are beginning to wonder what he sees in you. So let's say someone has criticized him. If the other's criticism isn't correct, you should be able to assuage his hurt feelings pretty quickly. But even if you agree with the criticism, this isn't the time to bring it up. This isn't the time to agree. This isn't the time to say, well, he's got a point. Instead, it's the time to build him up. You don't have to lie and say, oh, that's terrible. You're not that way at all. No, you just build him up in a different category. And then later, you can revisit that subject, especially if it's brought up again, or if he will probably bring it up to you again. And then you can say, well, maybe he was thinking this, or maybe you came off a little like this when I know in your heart you meant it this way. Your focus is to build him up. And I believe that one reason there are so many divorces today is that women, from what I've heard, and seen with my own eyes and hear on YouTube videos, etc., that women have no desire to, and have not been taught to, build their men back up. And since the majority of women work, they're too tired to build their man up. They've got their own problems. And yet, you'll find that they want the man to build them back up after criticism. They want someone to build them up, but they really aren't interested in building up others, unless it's other women. We're pretty good at building up friends, but so many people just, they get frustrated with their boyfriends or their husbands, and it's like, oh, he's a complainer. He should be more stoic. Oh, we're telling men that they have to be tender, and yet if they show any tenderness, we want them to be stoic. They don't have any feelings, but as soon as they show their feelings, we don't want them to show their feelings again. We want them to be stoic. We want them to buck up. We want them to be robots. That's not real life, and that doesn't build a good marriage. Just the other day, I walked into a situation outside of a store where a woman in her 20s was yelling at her boyfriend, and she said in a very haughty way, "Are you so slow that you were answering my first question? It took you that long? You couldn't answer my second question?" Something like that. The tone of voice. He just stood there and took it, and then he walked away. He did not say a word. I wanted to say to her, "Go run after him and apologize," but of course I didn't get involved. But if they are not married, why would he marry someone that speaks to him like that? Now, I know we all get into arguments, but talking down to a person like that can't be a way of life. And you certainly don't do it in a parking lot. We have to learn how to control our tongues. The next subsection is called "When You Become the One Girl in All the World." Nor must it be forgotten that you yourself feel a difference between him and other men. You have given confidences as well as received them. This man knows about your ideals, your aspirations, and your difficulties. He understands and appreciates and reverences you as men who know less about you can never do. You and he, therefore, are in a class by yourselves, apart from all the rest of the world in each other's estimation. And this is in capitals. When you meet, your eyes flash an understanding and a sympathy. When others are absorbed in other matters, you encourage one another by word and look. Whether at church, at a ball, at a fair, or at a wedding, you cannot help singling each other out as different and on a different footing from all mankind besides. You have secrets between you that others do not and cannot share. Should it be any wonder, then, if he should begin to think you are the one girl in all the world, and if you should begin to think there is not another man among men as he is? To cherish as wife and partner. Thus, gradually, without conscious effort on your part, the man's interest grows into a desire to enjoy your society constantly, a desire to take care of and protect and cherish you forever as his wife and partner, the protective adoration called love. This next long sentence is in capitals. You can consciously win a man's attention. You can consciously behave in such a manner as to increase that attention into interest. But there is little that you can consciously do to increase that interest into desire. Trick, stratagem, device, and method are of little avail at this point. You can only continue to be the charming, adorable girl who inspires the desire to protect, and the kind, gentle, pure, and angelic woman that arouses the man's adoration. You must depend here upon what you are, not upon what you do. There is but one rule to follow now: to live up to the best, the kindest, the gentlest, and the tenderest that is in you, and to let the man glimpse the true beauty of your inward character. If you are both marriage-minded, then as soon as you're about the 4-month mark in your courtship, you should discuss what being married would look like, what chores each of you should do, if you're going to continue working, if you're going to have children, if you are going to work after having children, who will handle the finances, who will take care of the cars. Where will you live? Whose job would you follow? How will you deal with the in-laws? You can take tests on compatibility or chores, but at no time should you ever live with him. Don't even consider it, because it never works out as you expect it to, because you'll have zero support. Nobody ever expects your living together relationship to turn into marriage, and it won't. It's very easy for one of you to walk away when the thrill has gone, or for any little thing. I don't want to live like this anymore. In one of my videos, I talked about how the oxytocin levels change when you're married and when you're living together. It's different, and at the 2-year mark, men typically will just say, you know what, I really don't want this. But when you're married, they're much more likely to stay, and if you have children, then the oxytocin level in them increases, which is pleasurable feelings, because they have a reason to get up and go to work for their wife and their child, to be that provider. I went into great detail in one of my videos on this. FW7.3, Why Won't He Marry You? But there's also an even more important reason that you don't want to live with him, and that's because God does not bless fornication. Living together is fornication, and he will not bless your relationship. I talk about this a little bit more in the video, A Counterfeit Home. So let's say that you do live with him, and you do end up getting married. The chances of you getting divorced are much higher than a person who dates for a few months and then gets married around the 1-year mark. Their chances of success are much higher than a person who has lived with their future spouse and then married them. The people that have cohabitated are much more likely to get divorced. And they're saying, well, we lived together because we wanted to make sure we could get along. And, well, we got along, so we decided, we can't live without each other, and so we got married. But then they're much more likely to get divorced. So just don't do it. God's ways are best. I also want to tell you a quick story about someone I knew. I don't think I've told this before. She was divorced and had a young son, and she met a man that she wanted to marry, and he wanted to marry her. And they asked her 5-year-old, is it okay if we get married? And the little boy said, no. Of course, he wants his mother to get back with his father. But that wasn't going to happen. The father was remarrying, and now the mother had the chance to remarry as well. And every year, the new boyfriend would ask this little boy, is it okay if I marry your mother? And the little boy said no. And so they obeyed the little boy's wishes. But guess what? They were living with him. He was providing everything for them. He paid the bills. He paid for the apartment. He paid for the food. He paid for just about everything. And every year, for like 7 years, they would say, is it okay if we get married? And the little boy, who really seemed to like this guy, would say, no. And then tragedy struck, and the man was killed. And the woman and little boy had nothing to fall back on because they weren't married. She didn't get any life insurance. She didn't get any compensation from his job. She didn't get any Social Security benefits. She wasn't on the lease of the apartment. She lost everything because she had been asking permission of a child whether she could get remarried or not. That was so foolish and so incredibly sad, because the little boy actually did love this man. She had no rights because she wasn't his wife. Marriage matters. I also want you to know that everyone I've ever talked to, several years into a marriage relationship, looks at the person they married, and this is both for men and women, they look at that person and they say, I think I made a mistake. And that's because you're learning to live with another person. And part of the marriage contract of loving in good times and bad is that you stick with that person, especially when you have children. You work through it. You persist. You persevere. You try to recapture those feelings of love, the adoration and love. You have to control your thoughts. So, for instance, let's say you're at the mall and your husband is obsessed with his car, so he's parked far away from the entrance, and that annoys you, first of all, right? It's like he passed up all those great parking places so that he can go park way over there, and then you know somebody's going to park next to him anyways, so why bother? You've already got a negative attitude. Instead, you just have to say, you know what? This is a man in his car. Men are like this. He can either drop you off or consider it a time to get your walk in. You know you're not getting enough steps. So this is a chance for you to hold hands and walk with him to the entrance of the mall or the restaurant, whatever. So let's say you've got your great attitude and you're starting to walk, and then he's like, oh, I forgot my glasses, or he's left his wallet in the car, whatever. And now you're doubly annoyed. And you're standing on the sidewalk waiting for him, and you look at him and you're like, why? Why does he do this? Or you start having bad thoughts. Why is he so forgetful? Why is he so whatever? And you're just like, this is so far from what I had expected. No, you have to take those thoughts captive, as the Bible says. You give them to God. You ask him to renew your mind and give you the thoughts and mind of Christ. To see the good in your husband, to see the blessing of your husband, to see all the good things that he does. And so instead of looking back as he's going back to the car to retrieve what he forgot, or he's checking to make sure that the car is locked, instead you can focus on the good things. I'm so glad he is so thoughtful. I'm glad he's not careless. I'm glad that he thought to double check. I'm glad that he is taking me out to dinner. I'm glad that he is with me here today and not golfing. Another thing is, how do you text him? When he sends you something by text, do you ignore it? Do you just say, okay? Do you reply, whatever? Or do you say, great? Do you have enthusiasm in your texts? Do you send him emoji kisses? Do you tell him during the middle of the day that you're thinking about him? How do you respond to him on text and in person? Do you greet him when he comes into the house? If you want him to greet you when you come home, then you need to set the example and greet him when he comes home. And if you're having troubles, put those early pictures of you next to your bed. And remember how crazy he used to be about you and how enthralled you were with him. And begin trying to recapture those feelings. Reliving the memories out loud with him can help recapture those feelings for both of you. Remember when we blah, blah, blah. You don't have to go back and recreate a date because oftentimes things will change and the recreation just won't live up to the original. But you can talk about the original out loud. Bring it up. When we were going through a hard time, I put a picture of when we were engaged. We got engaged on Christmas, so it was like the day after. And there's a picture of him wanting to sit so close to me that he's practically pulled me onto his lap. He just could not get enough of me, had to constantly be touching me. I was a bit embarrassed because I was with his family, but I also was enjoying it. So when we were going through our hard time, I really wanted to bring back those feeling the feeling of being adored. And that had to start with me showing him more respect. I didn't know how to do it because I didn't have videos like this and I didn't have the Fascinating Womanhood book. I started with Laura Doyle's The Surrendered Wife book, which was good, but it wasn't enough. A year or so later, I found Helen Andelin's book. And after that, I found the original pamphlets. I began doing some of the exercises in a Fascinating Companion. And still, even with all this, it was still difficult. It was still hard to follow through. But then I found Laura Doyle's new book, and that's not new anymore, but her next book, which was called The Empowered Wife. And that was very helpful, especially when I found out that she's on YouTube and she has a support group. I did only 1 month of the support group, and it was powerful. If you are in a place where your husband has left, or you might be getting a divorce but you don't want one, I would highly suggest Laura Doyle and trying to win him back by using her methods. They really do work, and they really do provide guidelines, concrete guidelines for how to have a successful marriage. Many of which the things she shares, I share here because it all started with these Fascinating Womanhood booklets. She has just reworded many of the things we share here and kind of shortened them, has little sayings, little like cheat phrases to keep you on track and to keep your man adoring you and you loving and respecting him. Now, her podcasts are not perfect. I'm not sure if she's a Christian or not, but her podcasts are definitely secular, and a lot of New Age terms can be brought in, especially when she's interviewing people, because New Age is very prevalent in our society. And I know one of my listeners here, has contacted me about some of the things that have been shared on her channel, especially her constant talk about self and trying to get your husband to do more around the house, almost to the point where it almost comes across as laziness on the woman's part. So personally, I no longer listen to the podcasts, but when I was in that time of crisis, they were very helpful. She helped me see what I was doing wrong and how I was being disrespectful without even realizing it. Sometimes what she says does seem a bit over the top, and while we do need breaks from housework and we do need help often with housework, we do need rest days and we do need to take care of ourselves, it doesn't always have to fall on our husband to help. Yes, it could be on our children to a degree, but maybe we need to hire a teenager. Maybe you need to ask for a robot vacuum. Maybe you need to ask your husband more for what you need. I need the kitchen to be closed by 8 p.m. I would really love for the kitchen to be clean when I wake up in the morning. So that would mean he would have to put his dirty dishes into the sink or into the dishwasher and not leave it on the counters. So we do need help sometimes, but ultimately, men just don't care about the state of the kitchen or the bathroom or what's on the floor or the general state of the house. We do. And so if we do, we shouldn't try to shirk our duties onto someone else. But we can ask for help if necessary. So that's just a little caveat I wanted to put in there, since I have highly recommended her book. I'm looking forward to when we finish these pamphlets, because I really want to move on to biblical womanhood. That's more my passion. I had no idea that these pamphlets would take so long to read. Plus, I'm living a full life in between keeping these videos going, since I don't make any money from these videos. And I don't need to have a YouTube channel to support me. I can't be consistent because this is not a job for me. This is a labor of love to share what I have learned with you. That's the purpose of me doing this. I know not all of the videos have been interesting, but I've tried to give you tidbits in each one to encourage you and to share what I've learned, because just like everyone, I had hard places in my marriage, and today I have a wonderful marriage. I have everything I have ever wanted in life and in marriage, all my dreams have come true. I'm blown away by that. God is so good. The most important dream that I almost had given up on was going to church as a family and being in agreement. I even have that now. We are going to church 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and we have Bible studies in between with our church members and with others. For the women, we have teas, and then we work days, we have potlucks. This is truly our church family, and I am so thrilled to be a part of my new church with my husband and our son, and even my mother worships with us. To be making such wonderful friends that truly are our forever family.